Most people think the answer is simple. Narcissists will never change. But the real truth, isn't simple at all. Because I used to believe that too, right up until the moment everything in my life collapsed, and I discovered something I wasn't prepared for. And there's new research that challenges what we thought was impossible. Let's talk about it. When my wife of 20 years, who had also been my best friend for 25 years, told me our marriage was over, I didn't feel heartbreak in the way people expect. I didn't collapse emotionally. I didn't drown in grief. I didn't even cry. What I felt was disorientation, a kind of internal spinning, as if someone had unplugged the operating system I had used to navigate my entire adult life. I remember standing there and nothing in me knew how to respond. Not emotionally, not cognitively, not relationally. I kept trying to figure out what to say or what to do that would change the outcome, because that's a strategy I had relied on my entire life. Adjust, analyze, fix, convince, stabilize the story. But no matter what I tried, nothing changed. And what terrified me wasn't the emotional pain. It didn't register as pain the way most people would. What terrified me was the outcome seemed wrong. It didn't make sense. Inside the eternal system I'd always trusted. That was the first moment I realized emotional pain isn't what drives a narcissist to change. Identity collapse is. And that distinction matters more than anything that we're about to talk about. For decades, the verdict had been absolute. Narcissists can't change. Clinicians said it, books repeated it, survivors lived it, and honestly, the evidence seemed to support it. The charm, the idealization, the devaluation, the coldness, the manipulation, the lack of empathy, the defensiveness or rage, or in my case, the icy withdrawal, all of it creates a picture that feels unchangeable. And in the DSM, narcissistic personality disorder is described as grandiosity, an endless need for admiration, an inability to feel for others, fragility masked as power, a self that looks solid but is built on cracks. So the myth grew. There's no door in, no doorway out, no possibility of transformation. But here's the nuance almost no one talks about. Most people change because emotional pain becomes unbearable. But narcissists don't feel emotional pain in the same way. So the usual catalyst for change isn't a catalyst for us. For us, change begins when the identity structure collapses, when the strategies stop working, when the story breaks, when the operating system can't maintain itself. That's why change is rare. Not impossible, but rare. And this is exactly what the new research speaks to. Because in 2024, something happened that challenged the entire field of narcissism. Let me walk you through it. In 2024, researchers from Harvard Medical School and McLean Hospital published a case series in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease. They followed 8 individuals who met the full diagnostic criteria for NPD, not narcissistic tendencies, not some traits, full clinical diagnosis. These people then entered 2 to 5 years of intensive psychotherapy. They did transference focused therapy to confront deep-seated beliefs, childhood wounds, and identity distortions. They did mentalization-based treatment to teach them how to see themselves from the outside and others from the inside. This is the foundation of empathy. This wasn't light work. This wasn't weekend journaling. This was identity reconstruction. And the results, all 8 patients, every single one, no longer met the diagnostic criteria for NPD by the end of the treatment. Their lives looked different. Stable relationships, holding jobs, functionally independently, responding emotionally, maintaining connection more consistently. The researchers called it remission, not a cure, not rebirth, not now they're normies, just the life-destroying patterns of the disorder no longer ruled them. And other studies showed similar trends, a 53% remission rate over 2 years for the categorical diagnosis. It's not universal, it's not fast, it's not easy, but it is possible. That's what these studies show us. It is possible. The door exists. Let's be honest. This research is groundbreaking, but it doesn't rewrite human nature. It reframes it. Because all 8 participants shared something in common. The desire to change came from within, not from an ultimatum, a partner's love, fear of abandonment, or pressure from others. It came from a collapse, a crisis that cracked their internal structure and exposed something unbearable to avoid any longer. For most people, emotional pain triggers change, but narcissists don't process emotional pain in the same way. We don't feel that breaking point until the identity destabilizes, which is why external pressure rarely works. You can't love a narcissist into changing. You can't threaten them into changing. You can't argue them into changing. The door can only be opened from the inside. And that's what the research confirms. Let's clear up a few myths. Myth number one, narcissists can never change. Reality, rarely, yes, but the research proves it's possible with intensive long-term internal work. Myth two, love can change a narcissist. Reality, no. Support matters after the narcissist chooses change, but it cannot spark the choice. Myth three, therapy fixes them. Reality, no. Therapy helps dismantle the defensive operating system so the person can function differently. Traits may remain, but the destructive patterns shrink. Myth 4, remission means they become emotionally normal. Reality, no. It means they become functional, capable of connection, capable of care, capable of repair. And that is already a profound shift. For my own journey, I don't know if I'll ever feel emotions the way others do. I don't know if empathy will ever be instinctive. I don't know if the old patterns will ever disappear entirely. But I do know this: understanding my internal operating system gave me something I never had before. A way to live that isn't built on performance or defensiveness or shame. A way to love without pretending. A way to show up without faking connection. A way to heal without trying to become someone I'm not. And that, to me, is the beginning of real change. If this hits you, whether you're the one with the narcissistic patterns or someone who loves them, tell me in the comments. Have you ever witnessed real change in someone with NPD or high narcissistic traits? Your stories matter. I read every one. And if this video helped clarify the truth behind the myth, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're exploring these patterns and want a place to understand them without shame or blame, I built a free online community where we talk about the inner world of narcissism, healing, connection, and awakening. The link is in the description. You're welcome there. Because change, real change, doesn't happen through effort or willpower. It happens when the internal operating system breaks open and finally becomes visible. Everything I've shared today makes much more sense when you understand the system beneath narcissism. I'm breaking it down in the upcoming flagship video, The Narcissistic Operating System You Were Never Told About. Make sure you watch it.